With that, welcome those of you who are able to attend today. My name is Joe Hawkins. I'm the Director of Parent and Family Programs. With me today is Alyssa Ciengo. She is an Associate Director in the office of the Cliff Alexander Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. And she's going to be talking to us about the Panhellenic sorority recruitment. In a minute, I'll let Alyssa define what that means. But before we get started, just some housekeeping. We are recording this, so for posterity and for sharing. We're going to use the Q&A function. So down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a button that says Q&A with a couple of little talk back and forth options. If you'll put your question in there, if you have something that pops up, just go ahead and put it in there. If Alyssa answers it, I'll dismiss it. Otherwise, when we get to the end of Alyssa's presentation, we'll cover those for everybody to hear. Also, we have below here the show captions button. So if you're in a place where you can't hear what I'm saying, you can turn on the captions and that'll be available to you to read along. Or if it's just a noisy, busy spot, that'll be very helpful. So with that, we'll turn it over to Alyssa and we'll get started.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Ciengo. I use she, her pronouns. I, as Joe said, am one of the associate directors in the Cliff Alexander Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, which means that I have the pleasure of advising the Panhellenic Association here at Miami's campus, which also means that I help run and execute primary recruitment. So I'm really excited that you joined us today to support your student throughout the Panhellenic recruitment process. Hopefully, I get a bunch of your questions answered today, but I'm excited that you all are here with us. Please let us know if you're having any issues hearing us. Give me a wave if that's the case. But I'd like to go ahead and get started with telling you a little bit more about the overall Greek community here at Miami University. We have quite a large Greek community here. We have over 5,000 students in our community across 54 chapters and 4 councils. So while I primarily advise the Panhellenic Association, we have 3 other councils as well. We are about 30% Greek here at Miami's campus. So we are so lucky that we have a well-staffed office to support every single one of these students. But to learn more about our community, as I mentioned, we have 4 councils. So while we're going to learn more about the Panhellenic Association today, I think it's important that you and your students recognize that they are joining a larger Greek community here on campus when they're joining the Panhellenic Association. So first and foremost, we have the Interfraternity Council, or IFC. This is comprised of 25 all-men's fraternities that are recognized nationally. We also have the Multicultural Greek Council. This council was established in the fall of 2021, so they are our newest council. They are comprised of 4 organizations that are culturally based, and we are really excited about their growth and development since fall of 2021. We also have the National Panhellenic Council, or NPHC. This is comprised of 3 sororities and 4 fraternities that are historically Black Greek letter organizations. And then, of course, we have the Panhellenic Association, and they are comprised of 18 sororities, all recognized nationally as well. So as I mentioned, quite a large Greek community here at Miami. But what does the Panhellenic Association look like? As I mentioned, we have quite a few groups. So all of the groups listed here are groups that we considered recognized Panhellenic organizations here on our campus. A recognized group means that they are a group that is overseen by the Panhellenic Association, which is the governing body of all of these sororities. An unrecognized organization, on the other hand, is one that might choose to exist off campus, meaning they're not following any of our policies or regulations. They're not permitted to operate and utilize university facilities or have any other privileges that recognized groups have, meaning they're not supported by staff members in our office, nor are overseen by a governing council. So it's really important that when your student is going through the Panhellenic recruitment process, they're joining one of these organizations. Again, most of them do fall under the Panhellenic Association umbrella. We have a few asterisks that I want to point out, one in which is Alpha Epsilon Phi and Kappa Phi. These are organizations that do not participate fully in the primary recruitment experience, but in the first round, your student will learn more about these organizations and how to join either of them if that is something that your student is interested in. Now, we also will have a group join us next semester, which is Pi Beta Phi. They will also not fully participate in the Panhellenic recruitment experience this semester, but they will participate in their own recruitment process after Panhellenic's primary recruitment process wraps up. So again, we have quite a large amount of chapters, and the Panhellenic Association and our office supports all of these organizations. So before your student registers for primary recruitment, it's important that your student and you understand what our requirements and policies are to even go through the Panhellenic recruitment experience. So these listed on here are our requirements. So it's important that you're having a conversation with your student about these things. First and foremost, they have to have completed one full-time or spring semester at school. Of course, if your student is already at Miami and they're finishing up their first semester, they will meet this requirement. We do accept transfer transcripts if they've completed a full fall semester and they're a first-year student somewhere else outside of Miami. They also have to have a GPA that is 2.5 or higher. Now, that's pretty important. Our office will check every individual's GPA prior to the recruitment process starting. Now, while our office minimum requirement is a 2.5, it's important that you and your student know that some chapters do have a higher GPA requirement than just a 2.5. So some might have a 2.6, some might have a 2.7, and those are determined by the chapter themselves. So again, if your student is going through the recruitment process, I encourage you and your student to look at our website to look at what those GPA requirements are, although the minimum requirement is a 2.5, and that's a pretty hard cutoff. We also have a credit hour requirement, so they do have to complete 12 college credit hours. This does not include any like AP or dual enrollment courses in high school. They do have to be true 12 college credit hours. And again, we do check the credit hours when we check GPAs as well. If your student is started here at Miami, they have completed an online hazing prevention module before they even stepped onto campus. When they register for the Panhellenic recruitment process, they will have to complete a second hazing prevention education module via Vector Solutions. This is because it's really important that your student understand what hazing is, what it looks like, how to report it, etc. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that is an online module that they have to complete. They have to register for the recruitment process as well. So our registration has been open since August 1st, and they have until January 5th at 11:59 p.m. to get registered. So we know that they're working on their finals right now. They're working hard to finish up this semester. So post-finals, it's really important that they register for the recruitment process by the deadline of January 5th. There are fees associated with registering for recruitment. The fee is $75. So in order to complete the registration process, they do also have to process that $75 payment. That helps the Panhellenic Association pays for costs and fees associated with running and managing the Panhellenic recruitment process. As we check potential new member GPAs and college credit hours, anybody that registers for the Panhellenic recruitment process will receive an eligibility letter from our office after the registration closes. So once your student registers, we will check their GPA and credit hours, and then we send them emails to their Miami email account about whether or not they are eligible for recruitment. So it's really important, again, that they understand and recognize what these requirements are and that they're checking their email so that they know whether or not they are eligible for Panhellenic recruitment. So moving forward, as I mentioned, hazing prevention and education is really important to our office to not only educate students that are going through the recruitment process, but also to educate our current members of our Greek organizations. So as some of you may know, we do have Collins law here in the state of Ohio, which is a hazing prevention and education law. And so it's important that your student know that hazing violates not only Miami policy, but it also violates the Ohio state law. And so any failure on a student's part to intervene or, of course, participate in hazing can also constitute a violation. So as I mentioned, your student will have participated in multiple trainings prior to their recruitment process. We also, as I mentioned, educate the chapters themselves about hazing prevention and education, especially as it relates to the new member experience. So once your student goes through the Panhellenic recruitment process and joins a chapter, she will become a new member of an organization. And that new member period is really important as she's learning about what it means to be a Panhellenic woman, what it means to be a part of her chapter. And so in this period, we do a lot of education with students. And so it's important that our entire community know and recognize how important it is to prevent hazing. And so we do education about how to report it if something comes up. Now, this QR code also leads to our hazing prevention and reporting website. So I highly encourage you all as family members, as parents, as support systems of students to also check out this website so that you also know what your student is learning about when it comes to hazing prevention and reporting. We always encourage you to reach out if you think something isn't quite right. It's always important to let us know so that we can intervene if need be. And if you do have further questions about Collins Law and hazing prevention and reporting, please always feel free to reach out to our office. So let's dive into Panhellenic recruitment a little bit more. So I first and foremost want to start off by saying that when I'm not a graduate of Miami University, but when I joined a chapter in my undergrad institution, neither of my parents, no one in my family was a member of the fraternity and sorority community. So I recognize how confusing this world may be if you were not a part of it yourself, and helping to navigate your student can also be very difficult. And so I approach this conversation with that lens, knowing that not everybody may understand the lingo. And so I hope to give you a very baseline understanding of Panhellenic recruitment and what it specifically looks like here at Miami. We know that this process can be very overwhelming for students, and Panhellenic and our office does try our best to make it less overwhelming for them, because it is an exciting time and we're so excited that they're interested in joining the Panhellenic community, but we also want them to know that they are supported and we are here to help them through this process. So a few terms that I think are important to let you all know, and I've been using a few of them before I even explain them, so my apologies. But first and foremost, as your student is going through the recruitment process, they are considered a potential new member, right? They're hoping to join the community, so they're potentially a new member. So we call them PNMs. So if you hear me use that phrase PNM, it means potential new member. We also use the term bid, which is an official or a formal invitation to become a new member of a particular chapter. The end of primary recruitment ends with bid day, which is again the day in which they receive their official invitation to join a chapter. Affiliate is just a formal term for a member of a chapter, or to affiliate is the formal term for actually joining a chapter. We use the term resign if someone is choosing to terminate their membership or their new member period. So if they become a new member and voluntarily want to withdraw from the chapter, we call that process resigning. And then we also have the term new member, which I've been talking about as well. So once your student goes through the recruitment process and joins a chapter, receives a bid, she then becomes a new member of that particular chapter. And she will be considered a new member until she's officially initiated into that group. A few more terms that are important for you to know, more specifically about the recruitment process. First and foremost is a ROGAMA. So a ROGAMA is essentially a recruitment counselor. This is a woman who has gone through the Panhellenic recruitment process as a potential new member and also as a chapter member. So she has a wide variety of knowledge about the recruitment process. And she basically is a guide to help your student through the recruitment process. So after your student registers for recruitment, she will be placed in a ROGAMA group in January. And she will be assigned 2 or 3 ROGAMAs that, again, will help her specifically through the process. So her ROGAMA is a really great go-to if she has specific questions about the process or just needs some additional support. So the ROGAMAs will be touching base with the potential new members all throughout the primary recruitment process. The Panhellenic recruitment process is what we consider a mutual selection process. So this means that the potential new members and the chapters have a say in which chapter they join and which P&Ms they invite to join their chapter. So that's why we call it a mutual selection process, because each of those two parties do have a chance to say who they would like to join and who they would like to see join their chapter. So mutual selection process. At the end of the recruitment process, each potential new member signs what is called the Membership Recruitment Acceptance Binding Agreement, or the MRABA, because that's a really, really long name for a contract. So we call it the MRABA. We're going to talk about the recruitment schedule in a little bit, but she signs this contract after the preference round. It is so important that your student recognizes that this is a legally binding document. This is a binding document between her, the College Panhellenic Association, and the National Panhellenic Conference, which is the governing body of all Panhellenic associations on all campuses. So it's a legally binding form that they will complete when your student submits her final preferences for recruitment. So again, we're going to talk about the preference round in a little bit, but this form is really important. Before they sign it, we do quite a bit of education about what that means and what it means to sign it. And she does have some options when she gets to that point. So the Panhellenic Association does a lot of education about what that means so that she's understanding of what she's signing before she signs it. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we have bid day. This is the last day of recruitment where potential new members will receive their invitation to join a chapter. We do it in Millett Hall, the basketball arena. So it's a really fun, exciting time. And then after primary recruitment, chapters may conduct what we call continuous open bidding, or COB, also referred to as informal recruitment. So a chapter will participate in informal recruitment if they have extra spots in their chapter to invite women to join. So this is a more informal process. Each chapter kind of has their own process that they will go to in terms of COB. This is a much more casual way to join our community. Chapters will participate in this after the primary recruitment experience and also again in the fall semester. It is important to know that not every chapter will be eligible for COB or informal recruitment. And so while it is a really great way to join our community, not all chapters will be eligible to invite women to join via informal recruitment. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more knowledge about the terminology behind Panhellenic recruitment. So let's get into the logistics a little bit. So here at Miami's campus, we do a 2-weekend-long recruitment experience. So our recruitment process starts the first Thursday that classes begin. So classes begin, I believe, Monday, January 28th or 29th. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the 29th. And we will start Thursday, February 1st. So on Thursday, February 1st, this is our kickoff event, where all potential new members will come to the student center, and it's basically like an orientation. We tell them about the recruitment timeline. They're able to meet our chapter presidents, and they also get to meet their Rho Gamma groups that evening. So at kickoff, we answer all of their questions about what's about to happen in the next 2 weeks. Then on Friday, February 2nd, we really kick off our recruitment experience with Welcome Round. For Welcome Round, your student will be with their Rho Gamma groups, and they will watch videos from each of the chapters. So each chapter submits a video to us, and the potential new members will be watching those videos. In the same vein, we highly encourage potential new members to submit their own welcome round video to the Panhellenic Association so we can share that with the chapters so that the chapters can get to know your student through those videos as well. So while those P&M videos are not required, it is highly encouraged that your student submits that video to us to share to the chapters. More information about that optional P&M welcome round video can be found directly on our website. I will pause here just really briefly because I do see a question in the chat about eligibility criteria for informal recruitment. The eligibility criteria is the same for informal recruitment and formal recruitment. So continuing on after Welcome Round, we have Saturday and Sunday, February 3rd and 4th. This is what we call the Philanthropy Round. Philanthropy is when the students will learn more about each chapter's philanthropic and service efforts. So it's a time where your student can brag about their own service and philanthropy efforts and learn more about the chapters as well. Then we continue into the next weekend, Thursday and Friday, February 8th and 9th. This is what we consider the Sisterhood Round. This round, the chapter will be sharing more information about what they like to do as sisters, what makes them unique, what do they value. And so this round is a little bit more intimate because it will allow your student to learn just a little bit more about what the chapter values. And then on Saturday, February 10th, is our preference round. This is the most intimate round. It's the longest round. So your student will spend the most time during the preference round with chapters. During this round, chapters may share some aspect of their ritual with the students. And so again, it's a more intimate setting and it's more serious this round so that your student really understands the deeper meaning behind each chapter and their values. And then, as I mentioned, Sunday, February 11th is bid day. So that's the day in which they would receive their official invitation to join a chapter. So like I said earlier, the recruitment process is a mutual selection process. So what that means or what that looks like throughout the process is that after each round, your student will submit preferences to the Panhellenic Association as to which chapters they would like to go to the following round. So for Welcome Round on Friday, February 2nd, while they will watch all of the chapter videos, all 18 of them. For Philanthropy Round the next day, they will only attend a maximum of 11 chapters. And while 11 chapters is the maximum, your student might receive 6 or 7 or 8, and that's okay too. So while the maximum chapters you could go to on Philanthropy Round is 11, your student may see less than that, and I promise you that is okay. And then the following round is Sisterhood Round. They can go to a maximum of 7 chapters that day. Again, if they're seeing less than the max, that's okay. And then Preference Round, they can go to a maximum of 2 chapters. So again, after each round, your potential new member is sharing her preferences with the Panhellenic Association. It is never guaranteed that potential new members will be invited back to a chapter that they rank high on their list. Okay. So that's what the overview of the process looks like. And as I mentioned, on bid day is when they receive their invitation to join the chapter. And once they have that invitation, they are considered a new member. And because they are a new member of our community, we do have some membership expectations and opportunities. So first and foremost, we know that they're here for an education. So it's really important that they are continuously focusing on their studies. Academic and scholarship is really important to the Greek community. So while they're also encouraged to study together with their new sisters, they will also be educated about their new chapter and what it means to be a Panhellenic woman. And they'll participate in programs like Greek Step Up, which is a bystander intervention program. Because they're a new member of our community, they are expected to follow all of our policies and bylaws and the chapter's policies and bylaws. So they're learning about all of those ways in which they need to be held accountable to those policies and standards. And then, of course, they are well supported by our office, by me, and the rest of the team in the Cliff Alexander Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. As I mentioned, academics, they have to maintain their academics and work towards graduation. That's the goal here for them to be at Miami University, as we want them to graduate. We also want them to be well-rounded students. So while Greek life is important and gives them plenty of opportunities, we hope that they're also seeking out opportunities elsewhere. Maybe that's in their individual college, or maybe that's another club or organization that they're really interested in. So we encourage them to be a well-rounded student. We also encourage them to get involved in their community by participating in service opportunities and philanthropic events with the community and with their chapter. Now, this is an exciting opportunity that we have for them. So while sororities do not have houses here on Miami University's campus, we do have what we call the Sorority Living Learning Community. This is a shared living experience located in Central Quad, which is behind me here on this lovely background. It's comprised of 5 different residence halls, and it is the expectation that Panhellenic sophomore women live in the sorority LLC with their sisters. It's an opportunity for them to live in the same floor, same building as their sisters in their chapter, but also it's a cool opportunity to live amongst other Panhellenic women who may not be in their own chapter. So it's still a really great opportunity to have that experience. And while Miami has that 2-year live-on requirement on campus, the sorority LLC really is an excellent option for them. The chapters also have what we call chapter suites, which I like to consider like the living room of the chapter. And so each chapter has a suite located again in Central Quad in those 5 residence hall buildings where they can go, study, hang out, bake some cookies, and just chill. It's a gathering place for them, which has been really nice for them to establish sisterhood and connection amongst one another. If a student wants to live in another LLC or be an RA, can they? Yes, absolutely. So while it is expected that they live in the sorority LLC, if they have other opportunities to live in a different LLC, or if they want to be an RA, they can absolutely pursue that, and they will work with our office to be able to do that and not live in the sorority LLC. So yes, they definitely can. Good question. All right. So as I said at the beginning, there are lots of questions that we get about the Panhellenic recruitment experience. And while I probably won't have time to get to all of them today, here are a few common questions that I get. So I'll just start with a couple of these. If you do have questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat and we will, again, get to them time permitting. But here are some ones that I find are the most common. So I'll bop around here. I get questions a lot about letters of recommendation. They are not required on our campus. So if you are a sorority woman yourself or know a sorority woman who would like to write a letter of recommendation, they're still accepted, but they need to be sent directly to the chapter. And that information can be found on our website. Many chapters do accept them online. So Panhellenic will not accept letters of recommendation on behalf of a chapter. They should be sent directly to the chapter. let's see, how can I best support my student throughout the process? It's just listening to them, um, talking to them, asking them good questions. I think it's really important to ask them about the chapters and the women they're meeting in the chapter and how they're connecting, and maybe what they're looking for in a chapter. It's this process again can be overwhelming, especially for someone who may be a little bit more introverted. And so you know your student best. And so you know what she may need throughout this process. And so I just encourage you to continue to touch base with them, ask them some good questions, and then encourage them if they need to reach out to their ROGAM or to our office. We don't want them to struggle or feel alone during this process. There are plenty of ways in which we can help and support them. So always encourage them to reach out if they need us. Let's see, what are the costs associated with membership? So as I mentioned, it's a $75 registration fee in order to go through the recruitment process, but each sorority does have their own costs of membership that are typically billed on a semester basis. So all of those dues and fees are listed on our website as well. So if you would like specific numbers about the chapters, you can find them on our website. I do see a question in the chat here. So if my daughter pledges a sorority, can she have a roommate in another sorority or one not in a sorority? That is a great question related to the sorority LLC. So what we usually say is we try to first reserve spaces for any affiliated woman in the Panhellenic Association. So if your daughter joins one sorority and she has a good friend in another sorority, which is wonderful, and they're both affiliated, we will try our best to pair them together, whether space allows. So typically we ask the chapter presidents to make sure that that's okay, that they room together, so that again, we make sure that there's enough space for every member of that particular chapter. Now, can she have a roommate in another sorority or someone not in a sorority? Maybe. That depends on the year. It depends on how many sophomore Panhellenic women will be living in the LLC. Oftentimes, we are able to accommodate that. However, we do reserve space first and foremost to any affiliated women, and then we will open it up for non-affiliated roommate pairs. I hope that answered that question. Are there others from the audience?
Yeah. One that came in a little bit ago. What is the eligibility criteria you indicated for sororities for the informal recruitment?
Yes, so those will be the same as the formal recruitment process. So it'll still be that 2.5 GPA requirement, still have to have one semester, 12 credit hours under their belt, still need to do the hazing prevention module, etc. So all of the requirements really are the same. So our office still double checks for those requirements before your student joins, even during the informal recruitment process.
Thank you. A follow-up question is, do students need to participate in the formal rush to be able to go
Yeah.
through informal rush?
That's a great question. They do not have to. So sometimes students will go through the primary recruitment process and voluntarily withdraw for a wide variety of reasons and then decide to go through informal, which is great, but they do not have to. So they do not have to register for the primary recruitment process if they just want to go through informal instead. But as I mentioned, not every chapter will participate in informal. So primary recruitment really is the best opportunity for them to meet all of the chapters. Good question.
Sliding back to the living in space question is, if a daughter pledges a sorority, can she have a roommate that's in a different sorority or one that's not in a sorority?
Yes. So she can. As I mentioned, we reserve space first and foremost for those who are affiliated in the Panhellenic Association in that space. So if your daughter joins a chapter and has a friend in a different chapter, she most likely will have an opportunity to live with that person because she's also affiliated. But for any non-affiliated individuals who are interested in living in the sorority LLC, we kind of put them on hold until we are able to place all of the affiliated sophomores in Panhellenic that want to live in the sorority LLC. So space permitted, but often we are able to accommodate that.
Fantastic.
Alyssa, can you talk a little bit more about the potential new member videos?
Sure.
Like what those, maybe a little bit about the content, but also Do most potential new members create the video? Kind of what's the culture around that?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So the PNM video, I would say most potential new members do participate in that. As I said, it's optional, but it is highly encouraged. So I would say like 90 to 95% of potential new members do submit this video to us. It is pretty informal. They can film it on their phone. They can film it on their computer. If they don't have access to that, we will help them. But the potential new member video really is a 75-second, really quick, short snippet for our chapters to get to know your student a little bit better. So in that snippet, we do give them some prompts in which they can respond to. So the main ones that we loosely require, right, are your name, your hometown, what are you studying, some of those basics. And then some of the other questions we throw out there for them are, why did you come to Miami? What are you looking for in a sorority chapter? What are you passionate about? What are your career goals? Tell me about an organization or service project that you're excited about, something along those lines. So we have quite a bit of prompts. Those are found on our website as well that they can answer. They do not need to answer all of them. They can also answer a different prompt if they feel so inclined. But we do have some instructions on how to complete that video and how they can turn that into us. But it doesn't need to be professionally filmed at all. We really just want them to be real and to sit down and to introduce themselves to the community. So it can be as simple as sitting at a desk and turning your camera on and letting us know who they are. We know that they're good at making TikTok videos. So we know that this is something that they are definitely capable of. But if they are struggling or are not sure where to start with submitting their PNM videos, have them reach out to Panhellenic and we can help them get this done. Hope
Great.
that answers that question.
Yeah. The question, Kim answered this type, but could you share the timeline? Are those submitted on the registration or in the same timeline, or when do
Sure.
those come in?
Yeah, the timeline is the same. So everything due for recruitment is mostly due on January 5th. So on January 5th, it's a Friday, they will turn in their recruitment registration earlier than that if possible. But on January 5th, they'll register for recruitment, and they should also turn in their PNM video by that date as well. The PNM video is not submitted specifically with their recruitment registration. There is a separate Google form that they will submit their PNM video to. So it's a separate form, but due on the same day.
Great, thank you. And then the question is, do you have any suggestions about the essay questions in registration?
Yes. So this year we linked what the essay questions were on the registration so that your student can look to see what those essay questions are and that she can type out her response on a Word document or even think through some of those responses first and then complete the full registration. So when she's registering, she does have to complete the whole entire form at one time. She can't save and then submit later. So that's why we gave her those questions ahead of time so that she can look. I will say they do not have to be long. So that's the advice that I will give them, is that we know that they just completed finals, so they don't have to give me like a 1,000-page double typed essay. These are short answer questions, which is probably the better term for them. But just to be herself and really showcase who she is and what she's passionate about and what she's kind of looking for in a chapter. So just be yourself, and it's okay if it's not 1,000 pages long.
Great. It's a long essay question.
Yeah.
Is there a maximum number of new members in each sorority?
Good question. So there is a maximum number of members in each sorority that is governed by the Panhellenic Association. So oftentimes that maximum number is dictated by the number of potential new members that are joining the Panhellenic community. And oftentimes it really is the average or the median size, whichever is larger. So the Panhellenic Association does give a maximum on how many women can join a chapter, which is why for informal recruitment, some chapters won't be eligible to participate. So post-primary recruitment, if a chapter is at that maximum number, they will not be eligible to add any more members past that maximum number. Again, which is why for informal recruitment, not every chapter will be eligible.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, a longer question. My
Yeah.
daughter is introverted, but because of that, we feel recruitment will be a good way for her to meet people, which she's been struggling to do over the first semester.
Sure.
But the student is struggling with whether or not this is right for her. Do you have any advice on how to support her anxiety about the process and advice about the value of recruitment and how it might be a good thing?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And thank you for answering that. I think I did say it earlier, but I would also consider myself introverted. And I never thought that I would go through a process such as this, but it really did help me kind of get out there. But if this makes you feel any better, your potential new member is not alone in that thought. Every potential new member that is going through the process is a little bit nervous, is a little bit anxious about what it looks like to walk into a chapter space during recruitment and have a conversation with a stranger, right? Who will maybe later become their sister. So it definitely can be a shock to the system, especially for someone who is introverted. However, I will say that during this process, she will meet so many wonderful women, and those women might not become her sisters at the end of this process, but I can almost guarantee that she will find someone that she connects to. What I also think is really valuable is that not only is she meeting women from different chapters, she's also placed in a rogue Emma group with other potential new members who are going through the exact same thing. These potential new members might not be someone that she knows already, so she's meeting a wide variety of different people throughout this process. And so I just encourage her to put herself out there, and try her best and know that, again, that she is not alone. I also like to tell this to our potential new members, but I can almost guarantee you that our chapter members that are going through the process with the PNMs, the ones who are actually doing the recruiting, are more nervous than your potential new member. It's on the chapter members to make your student feel comfortable in that space. And they want so badly for your student to feel comfortable, to feel accepted, and to feel supported. It's the goal of the Panhellenic Association that everybody going through the Panhellenic recruitment process feels welcomed in that space. And so even for someone who considers themselves introverted, I do feel that after this process, no matter what happens at the end, she will have connected with at least one other person here at Miami University. And I think that's really invaluable.
Yeah, I will. In my time at Miami working with students, I can't count the number of times that students have talked to me about going into the process like, I don't think this is right for me
Mhm.
necessarily, or I'm afraid of this, or it's overwhelming. And that I've never had anyone come back out of that and say, this wasn't a good experience. I didn't meet somebody new. They always come back and say, I was surprised at how
Mhm.
welcoming everybody was and
Yeah.
how quickly I was able to find someone that I connected with and how good of a process this was. Even the students who decided to step away from the process before the
Sure.
end, they said this was a great experience. So
Yes.
I think your team and the sororities all do an excellent job in this process of making students feel welcome, and I would attest and support that.
Yep, that's the
Um,
goal for sure.
yeah. On average, what percentage of women who go through recruitment get a bid?
That's a really great question. All of our recruitment statistics can be found directly on our website. We do have quite a few potential new members that choose to go through the process, anywhere between 1,000 and 1,200 each year. So the number that join our community can really range from 800 to 1,000. It really depends. As I mentioned, students may choose to voluntarily withdraw from the process for a variety of different reasons, and that's okay. If the process isn't for them or they want to withdraw so they can go through informal, we encourage and support that as well. We want your student to do whatever is best for her. So we do have some students voluntarily withdraw from the recruitment process, and that's okay. However, we do have a pretty high percentage of bid matching once we get to the preference round. So if your student stays through the process, we encourage her to keep an open mind throughout the entirety of the process, right? There are quite a few chapters that will go through the process. And so there's many of opportunities to join many different chapters. So if your student chooses to go through the process, keep an open mind, and she on preference day has invitations to one or two chapters, there's a high likelihood that she will be placed to one of those two chapters. Now, we talk about this, as I mentioned earlier, when they sign that contract called the MREBA. We talk through her options if she decides that those one or two chapters that she visited during preference is not for her. However, if she goes to the preference round and is really excited about the one or two chapters that she has on her list, we have a very high percentage of students that match to the chapters that they attended at preference.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Mhm.
That has exhausted the questions we have at the
Okay.
moment. So I think that is, oh, one more popping in at the last minute here. I went through Rush at Miami a million years ago when it was held before classes in the fall. I really appreciate all of this information and support you are providing to the students, their parents, and this has been a really helpful discussion. So a particular thank you for your time,
Yes.
Alyssa.
Of course. Well, I am so happy to help. We are here. I do encourage you. We have an FAQ page on our website, so definitely check that out if we weren't able to answer your question today. Here is our contact information as well. So to connect directly to the Panhellenic Association, feel free to email us at panhellenic@miamioh.edu. We will be checking that email very thoroughly all up into the recruitment process. But thank you all so much for investing in your student and investing in the process. If there's anything more that we can do to support you and your student, never hesitate to reach out.
Great. And just a reminder, folks, that this will be share with friends and family who didn't make it. They'll have this up on the Parent Family Webinars website, and we'll advertise it once we have them recorded up on the through social media for everybody, so people can get to this if they didn't make it. Thank you, Alyssa, for your time. Thank you, Kim, for your time. I hope you have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe, for facilitating this.
Always a pleasure.